Stefan, thank you so much for being here with me today. It's a real pleasure to speak to you face to face. I'm a huge fan of what you do. I hope you're all right with compliments because there's a few coming your way now.
Okay, so let's make it three. That's it.
I can't guarantee that I'll stick to
Okay.
three.
Okay.
So prepare to be uncomfortable.
Okay.
So
That's my middle name.
along with the 1,300 other subscribers to your amazing channel, A Course in Miracles Applied, I look forward to your videos. And obviously, I've just watched the one that went up today. You treated us to two in the same day, I think last week or just before
Right.
last week, which was beautiful. Um, I also have many notes in my iPhone, little sections where I've had to, prior the transcript feature, I've had to stop what you were saying, pause it, rewind,
Right.
jot it down.
Right.
So you've offered me loads of beautiful gems. You've also taught me about the whole Joseph Campbell thing, which I knew nothing about prior to your Hero's Return
Right.
episodes. I will let you know that you're in the company of Madonna and Galileo in this household, which means
Nice.
you're referred to by just one word, Stefan. So if I'm listening to you whilst making some soup or doing stuff around the house, and Georgina, my wife, comes in, she'll say, "What's Stefan talking about today? What t-shirt's he wearing?" You know, because you've always got a cool. There we go. He's always got a cool t-shirt on. And what cultural references? Because obviously it's great for us that you're of a similar vintage, and
Right.
a lot of your
Right.
cultural references are spot on for us. It's really nice.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And
Interesting.
yeah, I'm going to read a couple of things that you've written, which I've jotted down word for word, and just prove that my love is documented, and for everybody to hear why I like to jot your stuff down because it's so on point. So we decide to forget about love in a fraction of a second. And then 1 second later, we forget that we made this choice. And now we believe that the other person took the peace away from us. Denial and projection happen in a fraction of a second. Once the responsibility for our loss of peace is seen on the outside, we drop a veil between us and the other, forgetting that we are the one who made the choice to put up a defense. We're so afraid for the choice for God and against the ego that we literally believe we disappear if we choose God. And then the second quote goes with that nicely. The ego wants us to be an effect, not a cause. If we're an effect, we cannot decide against love. The cause is responsible for our lack of peace. The miracle is the first step of giving back to cause its function of causation. Sound familiar?
Somewhat.
I'd love to
Right.
know your planning and your prompts and your inspiration and your structure. You know,
So how this works, how this channel started was actually it's came out of a book I wrote called My Life Without Jesus in parentheses. And after that, I realized, well, I'm writing about the Course in Miracles. Now I should actually write down. My goal was to write down everything I know about the course. That was the very broad stroke goal. And I began with, I don't know if you have you listened to Ken Wapnick?
only about 1,000 times so
A
far.
thousand times. Okay, good. So that's about the same as I did. So his chart, with the
Yeah,
heaven and then the decision maker. So I thought I'll go through that journey, starting with heaven, tiny mad idea, into the ego and all that stuff. And after I wrote the first chapter, I think it was heaven, or it was something about course is not about love or something. I realized, oh, maybe I should just put it on YouTube, as a recorded thing so that I have something to kind of refer back to.
sure.
And so that's how the structure emerged, that I would write a segment, and then once it's done, go through it, put it on YouTube, forget about it, start the next one. And that's how the other book came about, the next book came about, and the whole YouTube channel grew. And the interesting thing is there was always a little tidbit in the previous segment that then inspired an idea for the next one.
Nice.
And I usually have 2 or 3 different segments kind of sitting there on my computer, and all of a sudden something strikes me and I'm like, oh, this is the topic. I don't know what it is. It just feels like a stronger pull from that. For example, the one with slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Mm-hmm.
That was I watched the SEAL Team, the TV show.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite shows. And the Master Chief, the actor's name is David Boreanaz. He was in Buffy and Angel and Bones. So one day he said, "Smooth is slow is smooth, smooth is fast," and I was like, "Oh my God, this is completely the course's, if you would say, like the elevator pitch, right? The Course in Miracles." So anyway, so that's how those structures work. Kind of a little bit inspired by the last one, and then I just write whatever comes to me. The actual segments don't have a structure; they just
Okay.
kind of happen.
Do you have prompts?
No, just the book.
Right. Okay.
Either the book or things like with the writer's journey. I think about how different things in life could reflect back to the course and vice versa, and then think about those and feel like, okay, this could be a good segment, like the post hoc ergo propter hoc
Mm-hmm.
from the West Wing.
Mm-hmm.
That just stuck with me. So I thought, oh, this is this is perfect for the course.
No,
And
lovely.
that's, I think, where that quote is from Cause and Effect, because the effect cannot choose. Only the cause can choose. If you're an effect, you don't have a choice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I know that you live just north of New York these days, but obviously you've moved to America from Germany, and in the early 90s, you've flown out to Roscoe and you
Hmm.
spent months out there, and you've been reading the course out there for 5 or 6 hours a day. You studied under Ken. Ken had a lovely name for you when you were there.
Yeah, Froggy. Yeah.
And then also, I'm interested about your return to Roscoe once the place was no longer the same.
Right.
So I wonder if the people listening who know nothing about Roscoe, you'd be as kind as to colour a bit of
Sure.
that detail in, please.
So Roscoe was, I think, the whole 90s. That was when the foundation was in Roscoe. I'm not 100% sure, but they started, I'm gonna say 1990 or 91, I think, and then they ended it in 2001 or 2000 or something like that.
Yep.
About 10 years. And it was a retreat center. It was a teaching center, and Ken was there, Gloria was there, Jeff Seibert, and Rosemary. The 4 of them were kind of the head of the staff. And then they had, when I was there, I think they had about 10 people there in the foundation that worked there, and they took care of us when we were there with regard to meals, with regard to the rooms, organizing the classes and stuff like that. And Ken was the one that taught the workshops. It was on a lake, so you could kayak, we played bocce, we played all kinds of things to distract us from the actual work with the course, obviously. Um, it was a beautiful, beautiful setting, but it was very deceiving. It was very deceiving because it lured you in and said, "Hey, come to us to the lake." And I'm like, okay, I'm there for 3 months. This is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna study the course for 3 months with no other commitments. And holy moly, I mean, what did after a week, I said, oh God, I have like whatever, 11 more weeks left. I mean, it was good, but it got very, very intense.
Yeah.
It was a very intense time. So, and then the second time I was there, which was a couple of years ago,
Mm.
that was very striking because in my mind, I had this image of the buildings, of the flair, of the beautifully kept grounds.
Mm.
And, first of all, you realize you only see the past, you never see the present. So we came there and it was completely abandoned and it felt completely abandoned.
Wow.
The pavement, the weeds were coming through. It was like a little bit of Walking Dead
Yeah.
environment, right? So I was just waiting for some dried leaves to sweep past me on the road. But so I went close to the main building, and there was a lot of you could smell the mold from inside the building,
Wow.
and it was stunning. And then I realized this sentence came to my mind: "Nothing survives its purpose," and that was so beautiful because it had its purpose, it fulfilled its purpose completely.
Mm.
And the purpose being not only to teach, but Ken's purpose was to feel 100% that you're forgiven when you're there. And you cannot convey that to
No.
anybody unless you're there. And I had several experiences there, but a good amount were with Ken that I literally felt completely forgiven in his presence. And I think that's what changed my life after that, put me on a totally different track. But so the purpose of the foundation was for the students to come there. And I'm sure everybody that was there can attest to that it was just a place of forgiveness. You just felt forgiven. And then the next day, the ego comes in and says, "Nah, you're not forgiven. Come on. Let's drill a little deeper into what you did last year." Anyway, but that was very profound, that
That's
coming
beautiful.
back to it and realizing that the purpose was fulfilled
Mm.
and nothing survives its purpose. That's
Mm.
it. It's done. You can't cry after it. You
Yeah.
can't mourn it because it has fulfilled its purpose. So that was profound. Yeah.
I guess as well in the sense of timelessness, what it did mean and when it meant what it meant, that's not gone anywhere, is it?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Mm.
Right. Yeah.
And I also know that when you went out to Germany, from Germany to America, I think you've told us that the Course in Miracles was only available in German up until lesson 160 or something. Is that right?
So before I came to the US, so I came to Roscoe in 96, and in 91 or 92-ish, I had this I ordered a book and there was the wrong book. The wrong book came. And it was called The Heart of Healing by Jenny Davis and Bruce Davis. And it was their journey with the Course in Miracles. And I read the book, and there were some passages in it that I just started to sob when I read them. I couldn't help myself. And then um, I I read everything possible that was available back then. Jerry Jampolsky was, I think, the biggest name that wrote books. Fear is something with fear. A couple of books he wrote, and I somehow on the black market, the dark web that wasn't existent back then, I got 150 lessons, or the first 150 lessons, copies, like loose copies from copies that were copied, in German, and it was a very crude translation.
Yeah.
And I, like every one of us reading the lessons, it was like, yeah, what is this? This arm means nothing. I don't know. It was it was a little strange,
Yeah.
but also it pulled you in, but it didn't tell you why, in a way.
Yeah.
I didn't understand much back then.
Could you speak
So
English?
I did from school,
Yeah.
and all the music in Germany is English, so 95%. So we grow up with American music mostly.
Mhm.
So that was kind of a little bit ingrained in me, but I didn't speak much. It was okay. I could get along with going to grocery shopping and stuff, but that was pretty much the end of it.
Right. So at what point did you say, like now, do you have a copy of the course in both German and English? And which,
Yeah, I have one in German. I mean, I have one, my original German one, and then I have a bunch in English, and then I got one in French, but it's like this big
wow.
because I just was curious. We were in French for vacation. I thought, all right, I'm gonna get the French course, but I never did anything with it. But I still have the German original uh,
Wow.
from 1994.
Yeah. I've got my copy from 93, which is goodness knows how it's actually still together. I've sellotaped it
Right.
round and round and round, and I've actually had a price from a bookbinder to try and save it for me.
Yes.
I
I actually
really
did
like,
that with my copy because
yeah,
yeah, I paid like $300 dollars to do it.
yeah,
So I have to do it because it's gonna fall apart,
that's where I'm at.
you know?
Practically every page underlined in different colours
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
every
yeah,
time you go through it.
yeah. Exactly.
So incoming, there's another compliment coming. Prepare. Uh,
Okay.
I really love your honesty. I know I've spoken to you about this before in comments on the videos. You know, I think it's really lovely that you're so honest about the fact that you are a work in progress with this living document. You're a living document. I'm a living document. The course is a
Right.
living document.
Right.
And one of the things I love about the course is that it has an elasticity that stretches beyond our awareness, where we are when we meet it, as it likes to say,
Right.
meets you where you are. And
Right.
you can come back to something that you've read and see it anew, but nobody's opened up the book when you weren't looking and printed a paragraph in there that wasn't in there from the beginning. It's your
Right.
perspective that's grown. So I
Right.
think, you know,
Right.
it's really beautiful that you're able to say, hey, look, I'm a work in progress, you know, I'm struggling with these dynamics. And another thing that I really like, which is not just a characteristic which you possess, but it's when people put a lot of emphasis on the first 20 lessons in
Mm-hmm.
terms of it would be very easy for us to think that this develops lesson by lesson, section by section, and therefore it gets more and more deep and more meaningful.
Right. Right.
But really, I've heard you say it, and you've said it on behalf of a lot of us, that those first 20 lessons are just so profound. And then,
Right.
really, when you go back to lesson one and you actually stop and sit and just
Right.
think about lesson one and think
Right.
about what that means, if you can actually look that in the face and go, oh my God, you know, and
Right.
really think of the content of that very first
Right.
lesson, it's got so much in it, hasn't it?
Right. Right. That's the beauty of it, you know, that you I feel that I mean it takes a while though, right? It takes a while to realize. Helen also said, just don't bother me with the first 50 lessons. You know, it's like I'm starting at 51 with whatever repetitions, repeats, stuff like that. Um, no, it's true. And it's also, I feel the same way about the introduction. I go to the introduction many, many, many times. The introduction to the text, the very first you know, the first two paragraphs, everything is in there.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I think the honesty has to come in to realize this is not about love. You know, this is not about anything positive. It is about the block.
Hmm.
You have to look at the block. So that was my philosophy from the beginning. I think because when I first opened the course, it was out of pain. I
Yeah.
was in a lot of pain in my 20s, and I looked to many different ways or many different things to lessen the pain. And then the course came along, and this was what I stuck with. But because it picked me up in that pain, I could never hide anything. I could never say, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." So I wasn't fine, you know. And sometimes some people need 20, 30, 40 years to get to that point and say, oh, "Okay, I actually am not fine."
Hmm.
I started with that I'm not fine, and then it just never changed. You know, I never got better.
But I think, you know, with the whole thing with the fact that there's no degrees, you know, I was talking
Right.
about this recently with somebody. It's like, you got all the big stuff. You can see what your blatant, obvious problems are, whatever those blocks to the awareness of love's presence
Right.
are. Huge stuff. Okay. So let's just, for the sake of conversation, say there's 10 of those. And
Right.
let's say that you allocate a year to each one of those. So after 10 years,
Right.
you feel like you've reduced those 10 big blocks. Then let's say there's 10 absolutely minuscule, you can only see them
Yes.
at the quantum level. There's no degrees. So there is
No.
probably the 10 big blocks that we started with. Yet they're very buried. They're probably unconscious. They're probably presenting themselves to you symbolically in your dreams. So then you've got to interpret, you've got to, as Ken used to like to say, you've got to walk that royal road to find out
Right.
what the
Yep.
dreams are trying to tell you.
Right.
So, you know, there's just a lifetime's worth of work to do, really.
Right. Right. And if you remember, Ken said at some point that, or Jesus said to Helen, and then Ken repeated it, that you usually work with the smaller defenses first. So what we think are the big ones, the first, those 10,
Wow.
like my father, for example, you think that's the big block? No,
Wow.
you know, because that's the obvious one.
Wow.
That's the one that hides some other one, and it has no degrees, but the degrees of being hidden. That's the issue.
Wow.
So the little one, for example, I recently uncovered something big where I realized that I could, or I tend to, how do I phrase it? I can distance myself from people, from a lot of people, basically from everybody. And I give them a little guilt. I project a little bit of guilt onto them, and I justify that. I said, all right, I'm not going to call them. I'll call them next week. Or, you know what I mean? So it, it, those are the ones now they're popping up after you deal with, or after I dealt with the seemingly bigger ones.
Mm.
Those are the just under the surface, the mushrooms under the leaves that you never see them. They
Mhm.
never see the light of day until somebody comes in and moves the leaves away. And then you have like 100 of them. You're like, oh my. So I think we train with the big ones because those are the visible ones. And then we learn a lot with them, but that's like, forget those. Then I think the real ones are the ones, not the real ones, but the ones that are um, keeping us from making that choice for the Holy Spirit are the ones that we don't know.
Mm.
Those are the ones, the seemingly little ones, like, oh yeah, no, I don't have to worry about um, that I just judge the person in front of me at the register because I don't know that person,
Mm.
or that politician. I'm like, I will never meet that person. If I judge that person, it's fine. I have
Mhm.
there's no immediate consequence for me.
Mm.
I'm not peaceful, but whatever, I forget about it. I go on with my day, but those are the things that, like, wait a minute, catch those.
You're so
Don't let
right.
them fly off.
You're so right. And I think, that's going to take a while for me to process that the big ones are actually the small ones and the small ones are the big ones. And
Right.
I can attest to what you're saying. Just very recent history. I'm going to do a Stefan here and I'm going to reference a movie, The Whale with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, I have not seen it.
Okay, I'm not going to do any spoilers, but certainly, it certainly gave me a viewpoint I hadn't had before, which you've just described, which was just this throwaway kind of like thing. If I saw somebody who an aesthetic about them made me somehow judge them,
Right.
and then I
Right.
was able to go, oh, it's okay, I'm a spiritual person, it doesn't matter. And it's
Right.
like, oh, hold on a minute.
Right.
This is actually exactly what you need
Talk
to
to
be
me.
looking at.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Catch
as
those.
somebody who's so purposeful, my life without Jesus, explain to us why you'd put the emphasis on that, just to help.
Because if I would have said my life with Jesus, I would have lied
Mm-hmm.
because it is 99% without Jesus
Mm-hmm.
and 1% with Jesus. So not even 99%. I think it's probably less than 99%. You know, we have moments where or I have moments where I can say, and it's funny, not funny, but it is kind of funny where the pain increases until I come to a point where I don't just say Jesus help me, I say Jesus help me. You know, um like the movie where the kid sees dead people
Mm-hmm.
and where he says, out of the depths I cry to you, my Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you're like, this needs to change, or I need to look at this differently. You know, please help me from the bottom of my gut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how often, first of all, do we go there?
True.
You know, I think we are, or from speaking about myself, I have this comfort level of pain or of discomfort where I kind of swim in just like 1 foot below the surface. It's kind of warm, you know, and you swim along. It's kind of, you don't see well, but you, and once in a while you come up for air. That's my baseline
Mm-hmm.
basically. And then sometimes it gets too much, and I realize I have to I have to do something. You know, the kind of a little wake up call, and then Jesus comes in, or I let him in. I feel his love for 10 seconds, and then nothing for 3 months. You know, or maybe twice a week, and then all of a sudden again nothing.
Wow.
So that's why it's my life without Jesus, because it's, and he says, you know, don't give me how much you love me, give me how much you hate me. That's what I need. I don't need your yeses, I need your no. That's the block. You can yes me to death. It makes no difference, you know, as we know, we don't love him. We can't love him. I mean, we crucify, you know, if we're Catholic or any kind of Christian background, we think he died for us. I mean, how much love can we have? Really, you know, the surface love that says, "Oh my God, you died for me, I love you," you know, but underneath that, there's this mountain of guilt that says, "Oh my God, you died for me."
Mm-hmm.
First of all, how bad was I that you had to die for me? How bad was my sin that you, the Son of God, had to be dead so I could live? I mean, who can live with that guilt,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to project it out. That's why Christianity is like everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
the guilt has to be pushed outside. The moment you leave church at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, you're back at judging the people that come out of the church, right? I mean, that's what we all do.
And you know, Ken, you know, with his thing about projection follows repression.
Right,
You know,
right,
so if people
right,
bury this stuff down and hide it from their
right,
right-mindedness, from non-judgmental perspective,
right,
driven by forgiveness, and try and bury it, then repression, what's going to follow it is projection, because
right.
that's a lovely way to get rid of something that's uncomfortable. It
Yeah,
comes back to some of the things I quoted that you said right at the beginning of just how, you know, how that mechanism works. You know, it's literally just, oh, great, okay, I'm okay again now. I'm
right,
fine.
right,
Um,
right.
your metaphor about being in the apartment with the door chain and Jesus putting his foot through the door.
Yes,
Can you elaborate on that? Well, I've got a bit of
that's
time.
how I feel. That's really how I feel. And I keep him at arm's length, like everybody. I mean, if I look at myself seriously, I keep everybody at arm's length. Sometimes people you can come through and you know, you feel that love that is the real love that is there, but I can watch myself most of the time not letting people in 100%.
Mhm.
So that's why he should be happy that he's at the door, not down 20 feet, 20 stories down at the buzzer, right? So he's at the door. So I already opened the door a little bit. I have 10 or 12 of those chains. So not just one, you know. So but he has the foot in the door, and that is terrifying and comforting at the same time, because I know I won't really shut it again ever completely, but I'm also not ready to say, okay, let's come in, you know. No.
But again, this is what I'm saying about your honesty, which I think is a really lovely thing because, you know, truth has a frequency. It's something that I really resonate towards. And again, movie reference, Blade Runner 2049. Officer K, Dr. Anna, when he takes his time to go and visit her and asks her about the memory and says, you know, is
Hmm.
this memory real that the replicants all share? And she says, yes, somebody lived this. You know, that's a very pertinent and powerful
Mm,
reference in our household here with me and my wife. We quote that as like somebody lived this, you know,
right,
and we
right,
have this capacity as beings to spot in someone else whether or not they're coming from a truthful place. And if that
right,
truthful place might be to say, hey, look, I'm still a work in progress. This is a massive
right,
journey. I've been on this journey for over 30 years, but it's still like, you know, a huge journey. And there's no
right,
point in even counting really how long that
right,
journey is because
right.
something I did think was in the course when it says the lonely journey fails because it has excluded what it would find.
Mm. Wow,
Mm.
it's beautiful.
Hmm. And something that Carl Jung said, you must be alone to discover what supports you when you cannot support yourself.
You must be alone. What was that? You must be
You
alone.
must be alone to discover what supports you when you cannot support
Right,
yourself.
right, right, right.
But the lonely journey fails because it has excluded what it would find.
Mm. That's, yeah, I know.
And we
Yeah,
don't.
we live in an oxymoron, you know, we really do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But you know, relationships are the Holy Spirit's classroom, which is another note that I've made here for in relation to how I feel about interacting with you and your work through your channel. And yeah, it's really beautiful what you do, even though you know you're very honest about maintaining your handle on things. That's part of the beauty of it
Right,
because
right.
then the frequency of truth comes through. You know, if you were delivering what you were talking about in the super efficient way that you do, I'm surprised there's no scripts and stuff because it seems it flows so well and it's so well structured. But if you were coming from that place wanting to tell us all that you were the finished article and that you've never had a bad thought or a
Oh yeah,
bad day
no,
in your life, we'd all know, wouldn't we?
no, no, that's not. Yeah, you would definitely know. I mean, that's, I don't know who that would be.
No, I don't.
That makes no
So
sense.
I've got quite a few more questions, but we've got 1 minute left. So I'm going to hope that you've enjoyed this and you would be happy to do another one at some point.
We can do it anytime.
Yeah, brilliant. I know you're a
Anytime.
busy guy and you've got a lot to do, so
That's okay.
there's a lot for me to take in here from this interaction. That was really enjoyable. I hope you've enjoyed it too.
I did enjoy it a lot. It was
Good.
very nice to meet you in person.
Likewise,
It was
yeah.
nice to put a face to the comment.
Yeah, excellent.
Uh, I
Thanks so much,
appreciate it.
Stefan. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
if I give you a
Thanks, Leon.
shout, then hopefully we can chat again soon.
Definitely.
Have a great day, my friend.
Thanks, you too. You too.
Bye.